Only she knows why consuming a human head is a bit like tackling a large and thick-skinned piece of fruit. The wise woman of Goth, the unstoppable supernatural writer Anne Rice, is here to take us on a mad, metaphorical ride to the darker side. Her new chronicle is called The Wolves of Midwinter, and 30-plus books later, it is my pleasure to welcome Anne Rice and her writing gift to Vancouver.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Nice to see you again. You perhaps don't remember, but you and I had an interview on radio a few full moons ago.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And at that time, you told me when you get a wild thought or a wild character dancing in your brain, you'd write it on the bathroom wall tiles? Is that right?
That's right. On the plaster walls of the bathroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a black felt tip pen and I wrote all over the bathroom walls and all over the walls of my office too. Just trying to keep thoughts current, you know.
And what was wrong with the pencil and paper?
Well, I did that too, but then I'd lose the piece of paper on my desk, you know. I mean, stuff would pile up. It was a mess. But if I wrote it on the wall or on the door, well, I could see it every day. It was great.
Did you sign your name to it?
Oh, I didn't have to. Everybody knew. The whole room was just covered with Anne's writing, you know. It was
Who cleaned it up?
Well, eventually it was all painted over, but I had a wonderful sister-in-law, Nancy Diamond, who ran things for me then, and she photographed absolutely everything off the wall for me and put it all in a file, so I had all my notes, and then she had it painted over.
When did you know you had the writing gift?
Oh gosh, I wanted to be a writer in the 5th grade when I was 10 years old. I wrote a long story about 2 people who came from Mars to Earth in a spaceship and what happened to them. And I wrote another, what I called a novel in the 7th grade when I was about 12, I guess. And it was all about a safari in Africa to find a priceless jewel, you know, and the jewel had the elixir of life inside it. It was actually a little casket, not a jewel. And I loved doing that. I mean, and I went right through high school desperately wanting to be a writer. I went through college, and I guess I really gave up in graduate school. Not gave up, but decided I just was going to quit graduate school and just going to write. And if I didn't make it, well, I wasn't going to make it. But I was pretty far along by that time. And of course, I didn't get published till I was 34.
34, the ripe old age of.
Yeah, well, it seemed like that.
But you were born Howard Ellen Francis O'Brien.
That's correct.
Sounds like a great Catholic name of sorts, but a boy's name.
It was. It was. My parents thought that was wonderfully clever to give me a boy's name, named me after my father, Howard. And I hated it, absolutely hated it. You know, kids would make fun of me. They would say, oh, why are you named Howard? What's going on with you? And so in the 1st grade, I changed it to Anne, which I thought was a very pretty name and a simple one and easy to spell.
Exactly. And the Rice came in when?
Well, when I married Stan Rice, yeah, when I was 20 years old.
You met him in Texas? Tell me the love story.
Well, I met him in high school.
And then we'll get into the other story.
Sure. I met him in high school, journalism class. He was a year younger than me, but we were in the class together, and I fell in love with him almost right away. It was about a year before we actually started dating. And later on, he came out. I moved out to California, and he came after me. And I went back then with him to get married to him, and we eventually ended up in California living in the heyday, and we were married for 41 years. He died in 2002. In fact, this is his birthday, November 7th.
And when you wrote, did you let him read it? Did you share your characters with him?
Yeah, a lot of time I would share my work with him, and he was very, very enthusiastic and very supportive. It was very, very good. As time went on, I kind of waited till I had a completed manuscript before I'd share it with anybody. But he was always a very special person to share my work with, right to the end.
And did he ever feel like he was Mr. Anne Rice?
I don't think he ever felt that way, but there was no question that I kind of stole the name. You know, when I became a very well-known published writer, I had the name Rice, and it was associated with Anne and not so much with Stan, even though he was a published poet and very successful.
Yes, and your son, a best-selling writer as well.
Christopher Rice, yes. Yes, Christopher has written about 5 novels, and his latest, The Heavens Rise, is his first supernatural novel. And I frankly think it's terrific. We've been going around the country in the U.S., you know, together doing signings, and it's been a real pleasure to be with my son. I really just loved it.
I'm sure. What's special about it?
Well, first of all, he's very funny and witty, and we've done some stage events together that he keeps everybody laughing so I can relax. You know, he does the heavy lifting. But it's just fun we get along real well. It's just fun to travel together and be together.
And did you tell him how to write goth, how to write about fangs and hair and blood, ever?
No. He does his own thing. He's doing his own contemporary kind of horror. And he's all his own man. He has his own voice, his own distinct way of doing things. And I think it's great. You know, if he was like me, I don't know what I'd do. But he's not.
Well, perhaps he can come to Vancouver.
Yes,
and we can meet.
Great.
And have some fun. A whole new type of supernatural character in this second book, in The Wolves of Midwinter. A man, a reporter, who has the wolf gift.
Right.
Which is?
Well, he changes at will, finally, into a man-wolf, a werewolf, but a primate werewolf that walks upright and can think and feel and talk. He doesn't black out like the werewolves in the movies of old who wake up the next morning and say, what happened? You know, like drunks. You know, what happened? I don't remember a thing. He's conscious the whole time. And he's also able to pick up the scent of evil. And he hears cries in the night of people being victimized. And he's able, as a man-wolf, to go and to get the bad guys and eat them.
And his definition of evil is obviously a pedophile.
Well, somebody being cruel to another person, cruel and violent to another human being, whether it's a child or a woman or another man, you know. There are times when he intervenes when a gang has surrounded a homeless man and is trying to hurt him, you know. And he comes storming in and, you know, eats a few bad guys.
Yes, yes. And the defining element of him really is he's bright and
He's
little
a good
tortured.
guy.
How did he become a man-wolf? How does that happen?
The first novel, The Wolf Gift, is about that. He goes to visit a big, dark house up on the Mendocino coast. And it's a beautiful house. And he almost instantly falls in love with the owner, an older woman who he finds very attractive. And she finds him very interesting. And he's a person who's used to being dismissed out of hand because he's young and he's attractive and he's well off. So he's used to being just the victim of reverse snobbery. And suddenly this woman finds him very interesting and doesn't immediately insult him. And he's drawn to her, and during the night, there is a horrible crime at the house. She's murdered, and something in the dark bites him, literally. He gets the werewolf bite, and he goes back home to San Francisco, and he begins to change into a man-wolf. And it's very much like classic werewolf literature. It takes him a while for the change to come on, and he can't control it at first. He doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know why he got it. And, of course, he sets out to find the answers to those questions, and also to not be caught by the police, because he keeps venturing out as a man-wolf and making headlines. And, of course, he has to, you know, change back and hide, and he becomes sort of a comic book hero to Northern Californians, the man-wolf of Northern California.
Of course, and there's not a phone booth for him to change in anymore.
No,
So.
and he has no clothes when he's out there as a wolf, and, you know, he has to get away and get back to some clothes and get home, you know.
And Marchant, who is the woman he falls in love with in book one, she comes back in book two.
She does. She comes back as a ghost very early on in the novel, and obviously a tortured ghost, a confused ghost. And he has to figure out how to communicate with her and has to figure out what she wants, why she's haunting. And of course he's tortured by this, I mean, because he loved her and he couldn't save her the night she was attacked and murdered. And he has a lot of guilt about that, just surviving. So it's really a Christmas ghost story in many respects. The book is about Christmas in this big house where Reuben lives with these other morphin kindred, these other older werewolves who have been trying to create for him a new family of outsiders, you know, werewolves.
Yes.
So they have their own group.
And do you believe in ghosts in real life?
I do, actually, but I've never seen one, but I believe in them, yes.
You say in The Wolves of Midwinter that if you die violently as a human, often it's hard for you to leave?
Well, that's the thinking out there. I mean, that wasn't an original thought of mine. A lot of people have said that ghosts after a violent death are often confused. They don't know where they are. They don't pass into the light. They linger trying to figure out what happened to them. Sometimes they don't know they're dead. I found that a rather horrible thought, but that's been said many times, that some ghosts simply don't know that they're dead. They need to be told to pass into the light.
And do they have a fear about the portals of heaven?
I imagine they do. I mean, I would.
I would too.
Is that the portal of heaven, or is that the portal of oblivion? You know,
or am I going to purgatory, or am I going down to hell?
Sure, exactly.
Well, one of your other specialties really is writing religious books, literature. You were raised a Roman Catholic.
I was, yeah.
Became an atheist, went back to Catholicism, and left again. Why?
I left organized religion. I came to believe that my search for God and my relationship with Him did not depend on organized religion. In fact, was better outside of organized religion.
So you kept Christ, in a sense.
I did,
and,
absolutely. Yeah, my faith in Him, very much so. Yeah.
And left not the church, but some of the beliefs of the church.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I would say the whole
same-sex marriage and all of the things that some of us more liberal people believe in.
Yes, yes. Right.
Did you get flack for that from your fans?
I got pro and con. I got thousands of emails from all over the world supporting me leaving organized religion. People wrote and said, "That's what I did. That's how I feel." Well, one woman wrote and said, "I work in a Catholic school. I wish I could leave. You speak for me." You know, that type of thing. But I also got a lot of negative emails too, and I disappointed some of my religious friends. And I understand. And some of them were very forgiving and very wonderfully supportive.
My friend Tom Harper wrote a book called The Pagan Christ.
Oh, I greatly admire Tom Harper.
Yes,
I'm familiar with his books.
He's very interesting, and he was an Anglican priest who questioned, was there really a man named Jesus who walked the earth?
Right.
And it caused us all to think twice and three times.
Yes, yes. I love Tom Harper's works and Bishop Shelby Spong's work, John Shelby Spong. He's another Anglican who's written brilliant stuff, I think.
Yes, but he does not have the wolf gift.
No.
I don't think.
No.
We'll return with Anne Rice, who has always had one foot in each world.